two items, with the third item that's going to do attaching, that's the thread. And that would also include pulling a thread tight, if it came loose. On page 231, sticking things together with glue or tape. Now, page 232. So we have now we have two opinions when it comes to sewing. Is it the same as tying a bow, which we spoke about last week, that if you tie a bow, that's going to be only temporary, so it's not considered tying unless it's a professional knot, which would be a double knot. However, if it is meant to be opened within 24 hours, then it would be permissible to begin with. When it comes to sewing, there are two opinions about it. We take the more strict opinion, even though it is not going to be, even though it's going to be opened within 24 hours, we will not, it is not permissible. So therefore, we have our sticky tapes. Even though one is going to take it off, we're not going to do that on Shabbos. However, if there is covered up risk, then when there is a need, then we are going to rely on the 24-hour leniency. So we have we have diapers and things that are similar to that. And now generally it used to be so that it has like a tab and you open it up. These are made actually Velcro. These are not tape. These are not, there's no glue. This just has this is the.
All the diapers are like that?
No, all others are actually, they actually have a glue and they stick together. I opened this up before, so I guess it goes like this. Anyway, these are good for Shabbos because they, I guess I used them already. What did I do here? Here it is. Here we have here's the Velcro, here's the sticky, and so these are Shabbos ones, so these are fine, no issue. There's a hold up. There we hold. Now, this is special, these are special with Velcros. Normally they're not that way, and they are actually, they glue together. Could you use that on Shabbos? So the ones that have the actual, like, that stick together, they have a tab. For example,
so these are special Shabbos ones.
These are special Shabbos ones. I don't know if they made it special for Shabbos or this is what it is. So these are no issue at all. You open them, close them, you finish with them, you close them back up, you throw them out, and there's no issue with it. Let's take now the Band-Aid, which is the same thing would be with the diapers that have the tabs. Now, again, when it comes to a Band-Aid, we don't want an infection, right? So therefore, we're going to use all kind of leniencies that normally we would not rely on that, but since it is for safety, we're going to use the leniencies. And therefore, if you do know that you need a Band-Aid on Shabbos, so open up so it has the, open up beforehand so you don't stick it. Now, pull out the Band-Aid before Shabbos. And it has these tabs. These are called tabs. They're on top of the glue part. in order that you should be able to use it. So only when you're ready to use it will you remove the tabs. But the tabs are such that when you take them off and you put them back on, you're fine. But you already showed that you want to use it for Shabbos. And therefore, the way to do it, if you know beforehand, you take the tab, take it off, put it back on, and both of them, put them back on, and then slip it back into the package. When you're ready to use it, you'll open it up. So this one already been opened. It's meant to be opened and closed. That's what you showed before Shabbos. So now you could not put any salve on this part to like put on. If you want to have something on it, like some type of cream of some sort, you put that on before Shabbos. So you do not have to smear it and straighten it out. This would be before Shabbos. So before Shabbos, you open up the tap, put it back on. If you need any creams of some sort, put the cream on this and put it in a plastic bag that should be still sterile. It should not, you should be able to use it when you need it. So we're going to have another chapter which deals with creams, something like Vaseline, something like Vasitration, all the other types of creams, what we could do on Shabbos or not. In this case, if you did not put it on the Band-Aid before Shabbos, you would put whatever is on your hand, wherever the Band-Aid is going to be, and not to smooth it out, not to just glob it on. If it is from a tube, squeeze it on, leave it all like a clump, and then whatever is going to go on, this is going to go on it. Now, what we are concerned is if we're going to take the two ends together, one overlap one or the other, it's going to stick. And it's going to be either going to stick it and unstick it. So what's the right way to do it on Shabbos? So it would be put it only on the skin, because that's going to come off within 24 hours. So instead of usually when you put a Band-Aid on, you put it on wherever you're putting, and then you wrap the two ends around it, and it's going to be on the Band-Aid itself. It's going to hold very well. On Shabbos, we would just put it on the skin. So we put it on a diagonal. Did not overlap. It's only on the skin. After 24 hours, before 24 hours, you'll remove it. What happens if it was on before Shabbos and it was already this way? So the best way would be to try to remove it by actually just pulling along the lens, so you don't have to unglue it again. If you could avoid that, that would be the best way to do. So,
pull it off.
Pull it off. It'll come off. If you spend much time, we're not going to take away the class time for pulling it off, but it does come off. So this happens to be like a very easy. Doesn't really. Some of them are so bad, and so much glue on it that there's no way to take it off unless you're really pulling. This is really like on and off. If you do that before Shabbos, on and off, it's an open and closer. But it's better again to do it without overlapping. Yes.
I just wanted to ask regarding the diapers. What if they don't sell the Velcro?
Okay. So now we said already that for Kavanah Brios, which means for human dignity, the Rabbanan were made leniencies. So diapers would go into that category. So at one time, when you had these diapers, you also had these clips that actually would clip on one with the other. They're like little clips. I don't have them. I can't bring them in. I don't know if they still sell them or not. But at that time, that was available, and therefore you did not use the tape. You used the clips. And others would also use the we had with a safety pin. There were baby safety pins. So these could open up by themselves. I have it still in the bag. So there are baby safety pins that lock in, special for them. They're big safety pins. They lock in, they're special made baby proof. It shouldn't open up by itself. It's not the same ones as you sell for regular safety pins. These are baby safety pins. So you would have the baby safety pins. You would pin through one from one side, one from the other side, and close it, and it would hold well. So then it would not be an issue of using the tapes. One does not have the clips. One does not have the the baby safety pins. So then you would open up the tabs before Shabbos, then tab it on, and then when you're going to, you would just open it back up again. If it didn't open, you would just tear it open. So that would be, again, you're tearing it in a destructive way. So that could be done. Again, for covered up layers, because the child, you're not going to leave, you're not going to leave they're on all Shabbos. So you have to remove it. So because of that, we're going to rip it in a destructive way. And that's the way it was done. So again, if it's something that has tabs to begin with, you try to open up the tabs before Shabbos and close it back on. And again, this was not meant to be 24 hours. The same thing as anything else that has tabs, you try to remove it within 24 hours. So it'll be a temporary sewing, which normally we do not rely on it, but for covered up layers, for human dignity, we are going to rely on that. Okay. Now, here we have on page 233, second paragraph. When removing the diaper to throw away, one should be careful not to stick it closed again. Because now you're actually sticking it closed and it's going to remain permanently that way. We don't want to have a permanent taping. Yes. Who has a question? Yes.
What do you say about if, like, you want to use a Band-Aid that you didn't know it was Shabbos?
Yeah. So this is called a flimsy opening. This really is it's very flimsy. This you could have opened up on Shabbos as well, because it really does not stick in any way. Maybe it's this brand, but this is such that it's really, nothing sticks to my hand. It only keeps the papers closed. But really it's not meant to be taped together. So this is really something that you could open up on Shabbos. You could slip it out, and you'd have to experiment to see how they package it before Shabbos to know what kind of Band-Aids you have. This is the, so this brand particularly is not really, the tape is really very, very flimsy. It's really not considered really ripping it in any way. It's almost like Velcro because it's so minute. Again, normally we would not rely on that because this is also very minute, the sticky tape. But we're not going to stick tape on Shabbos. We're going to avoid that. There's no necessity for that. But in this case, it is a necessity. We're going to rely that it's not really taped together. It's meant it's very, very loose. So we would open it up, we would pull it out. And again, we're not going to stick one side on the other. If one did, then they just slip it off and throw it out without unsticking and then sticking back on again. Safety pin, spoke about that. Tearing.
Do these rules also apply to like opening food packages? Is that part of this?
We're going to leave that for another class, which is building and destroying, and building and dismantling. What would go into that category is, are you making a vessel? So we have a few issues there. That's a chapter for itself. I think I have a handout that's separate from this book that's that's more detailed. So we'll try to do that at that time. When it is permissible to open or in a disruptive way, when you need tissues or something of that sort, again, for human dignity, again, the leniencies that we're going to use for that, you don't have any, for the bathroom, you don't have any paper. So there are leniencies that are going to be used for that which normally we would not do, but because of human dignity, we're going to apply all our leniencies that we could find. Now, at all times, when you are going to open it up, let's say you're going to open up, you have to make sure not to tear the words, the letters, because that's erasing. So while you are permitted to, if it's in a permissible way, we're going to open this box, but not doing any other activity that would include erasing. So let's make sure that the words that are in the packaging are not going to be erased or cut in half. So we're going to have that, cans and the nosh bags. And so when I asked the rabbi that I consult with, what should I teach my class? And he told me, tell them to open up, make someone in charge to open up all packages before Shabbos. All the nosh bags and all the tissue boxes and all the napkins and everything else that has to be opened, mixed in cans. All of this should be opened before Shabbos. That's what I was told to teach the class. However, we're going to see some of the leniencies that are there when we come to that chapter. Yes?
What about, in the milk bottle, there's like under the cap.
Tabs, yes. So that also, we're going to cover that as well. So again, we're going to speak about all these things. So take me to a vessel. These are all left for that chapter. Same thing is also when we have those products that are sealed, like you have the yogurt and you have the cottage cheese, you have that film that's on top. That is. So what do we do with that? So we're going to. That's going to be all part of that. There are a lot of situations that many of them are permissible. We do it in a permissible way. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Now, so let's make page 235. Let's go together with the book. And so in the tearing was also a part of the malacha. In constructing of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, when it was time to repair the curtains of the tabernacle, if there's the worms ate round holes in them, this is all theoretically, because there were no worms in the Mishkan that ate up the curtains. Whatever was in the Mishkan was supervised by Moshe Rabbeinu, and everything that he made is eternal. So the Mishkan that you've been learning about has been secreted, has been put in a place that till the time of coming of Mashiach, it is there for safekeeping. Mashiach comes, we'll be able to see everything we've learned about in Parshas Truma, Parshas Tesava, we'll be able to see it all. But theoretically, what happened if there would have been a hole in the material? So what you would do is, what do you have if you have a hole? Okay. We have a hole in our curtain. So how do we repair this?
On Shabbos?
No, not on Shabbos. We just now we'll know what you can do on Shabbos. Huh? Okay, so you're not going to sew it together like this.
No.
Because then you're going to get a very not attractive curtain. What you're going to do is you're going to tear the place where the hole is, right? We're going to tear that place out. Then we're going to put the two ends closer together, and we're going to leave the hole out. So what we're doing is we're tearing for a constructive purpose. Purpose is in order to resew it properly. So therefore, when is tearing a malacha? When it's done with a purpose of not destroying, not tearing it for the sake of tearing, but rather for a constructive purpose in order to resew it to resew it properly. That is when it's a Torah prohibition. The Rabbanan said that included in that is any tearing at all. So that would be rabbinic. As far as we're concerned, the Torah prohibition and the rabbinic prohibition are both as strong for us that we do not transgress either of them. However, there are times that the Rabbanan also made exceptions to when something could be done in a destructive way on Shabbos. That's where we get the leniencies of opening of packages, because it's going to be done in a destructive way. So we're tearing not for the sake of improving, but for the sake of destruction. Then the Rabbanan say, in certain circumstances, you are permitted to do so if you did not do so before Shabbos. And again, the advice is anything that does have to be torn, packages, opening of everything should be done before Shabbos. That's the proper thing. So that's how I'm teaching the class. Now, on page 236, the Torah is separating two things which are attached to each other. So we said whatever is considered attached is forbidden to unattach, and therefore something that is glued together, you're not allowed to unglue. Something that is stapled together, you're not allowed to unstaple. Something that is stapled and glued and sewn. Now, there are two opinions of when the malacha of sewing applies. Is it to a material as was in the Mishkan, because it was the yarn, it was the curtains. So it was strands of material put together and to make a curtain. Does tearing only apply to material, or does it apply to also other forms? So here the paper is not material, so does it apply to paper as well? Most of the authorities say it does. There are authorities that say that it only applies to material, that's actually woven material. So therefore, when we need a leniency, we're going to rely on those who say that it does not apply to paper. A leniency, again, in most circles, they do not take this leniency. In most circles, they say that paper and plastic and all other items, the rules of tearing apply. So if you go to any other community, then it will be strict. But again, in certain situations, since there is an opinion that says that it only applies to woven material, cloth material, and it will not apply to paper. So let's look here on page 236, tearing paper and toilet paper. Here it takes the opinion that it only applies to cloth material. And therefore, there is no prohibition because of the malach of tearing in the case where one tears leather or paper, because the malach of tearing applies specifically to something which is comprised of numerous parts which are attached like a garment. However, one tears with a specific measurement, performs the malach of cutting. So now we have another malacha. Malacha is cutting to size. We're going to learn, one of the malachas that we're going to be covering is cutting to size. That would be if there is the perforated paper, the rolls of the paper towels. Some of them are just a roll without any perforation. Then you have those that make it convenient to us not to have to tear, without size. It'll always have the size that you want. So tearing it to size, that is the malacha. Tearing it not to the specific size is not the malacha of cutting. So we have the malacha of cutting and you have the malacha of tearing, two separate malachas. So any material that has the perforation and you're going to cut it on the perforation, that is the malacha of cutting because you're cutting it to a specific size. that you want. So if we are going to tear paper, it's not going to be on the perforated size, it's going to be in the center where there is no perforation. That would be the same with toilet paper. There are those that are that's just one roll without any perforations. Everyone knows what perforation is?
Mhm.
Okay, because it's not, everyone speaks English?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just know, do you speak English? You understand English? Okay, perforation, you know what it is? Okay, so you cannot cut anything perforated on Shabbos, cannot be done. So now, so here we have on the last paragraph on page 236. In the case, one who needs to relieve himself and has no toilet paper available, one who is lenient tears the toilet paper as an authority upon whom they could rely. He should tear the paper with a change, such as with his elbow. He should try not to tear it on the perforation. Could we tear it with an elbow? Let's see if that happens. I think it's easier if you go like this.
Oh, that's smart.
Elbows are not convenient. Let's see what it says about the elbow. This does a better job. Okay, but the elbow also works, so you have either choice. So if we are, so how would you do that with a toilet paper that's on a roll? You'd have to remove the roll
Yes.
and then do the tearing. So on the roll, you're not able to tear it. So if it does, if you are going to, do it whatever way you're going to do it, if it does happen to be on the perforation, that was not your intention. If it does come out on the perforation, you did not do anything wrong because you're not trying to tear on the perforation. I'm just thinking, practically speaking, I'd have to experiment on this. What happens if there is a roll of paper? Is it always going to tear on the perforation or is it going to go in the middle? I'd have to experiment to tell you what's the result. So I mean, in my imagination, since preparation has already been very, it's already there, I think when you go like this, it's going to, a good probability that it might go to the preparation as well, but since that's not your intention, you're not trying to cut it to size, so then you do not, it's not considered that you cut on the preparation.
So I forgot what you said about like you can't open a bag of snacks.
So we're going to speak about that.
Oh, okay.
We're going to speak about that. Not today, we have that, we're going to go into that chapter. Okay, so now in other works, so here we're taking the very, very lenient opinion, and that is the Alter Rebbe says that it applies to cloth material. That's why it says there is no prohibition, because we're taking on the Alter Rebbe's position. The Mishnah Brura, the other authorities that are accepted today, what they will tell you is something very gross. What they'll tell you is you leave it on the roll, you use it as it's being used, and you throw that into the toilet, and you do not tear it because you just flush the paper down, and it's going to be, the water is going to tear it for you. If you look in other books, not in this one, if you look in other Shabbos books, they will tell you to do it that way. So I'm just sharing what you will see in other books. So it's so you have the roll, you use whatever is used, the water will tear it for you. So just want to make you aware of how it is in other circles as well, that they're not necessarily going to rely on the tearing in this way, they're going to tell you to do it that way. So I just want you to be aware, I try to, in this class, I don't tell you only what's in Chabad, I try to tell you what's in other circles as well, so just be aware of, they'll tell you, you did something wrong, you didn't do something wrong, you're not allowed to do it. So I'm trying to share what's in other circles as well. Okay. Now, page 237. When something got stuck originally, so it was not meant to last, you should not tear any letters on the book. Not to remove pages from pad, which is attached to the end, tearing. Been to cut pages in order to separate them from each other. Tearing cotton should be avoided. The fibers are considered attached. Then that's tearing. Now, bottom of 237. Your question. Now here we have two malachas that we are going to be concerned about. One is tearing, and one is demolishing, destroying. And a third malacha is making a vessel. So we have three things that we have to have in mind when we do have a box. And the Rabbanan made a leniency when it came to food. Even though you're not allowed to tear in a destructive way, when it comes to food, they made this leniency that if you're going to do it in a destructive way, then you are not making a vessel, it's being destructive. So destructive is a rabbinic prohibition, so then they're going to allow it. So over here, it tells you you could permit to tear a cardboard box or paper bag which has food in it when the tearing is done in a destructive manner. So destructive manner means that it's not going to be usable. So if you have a bag and you're going to open the bag, you're going to open up the bag that you're not going to be storing the remainder of the food in this bag because you destroyed the bag. I did not bring the bag with me, so I'll have to bring it for next time. So again, with these, you have to be careful not to tear any letters. It has to be done in a destructive way. You can use a knife and cut it down, that you'll not be able to use the bag to store the rest. You'll have to empty out the contents in another container, another plate, or whatever it may be. So we're not going to be used, we're not opening the bag in such a way that it's going to be used as our storage, because then we're making a vessel. But it's going to be done in a destructive way, so we destroy the bag and the contents you could use. So we're not going to unglue, so we can't unglue. We are going to just could use a knife to cut it down, make sure that the letters are not destroyed. So we'll read the next chapter with setting traps. Maybe we will speak. Does anyone have any pets? Cats and dogs?
Roommate had.
Huh?
I didn't have a roommate. My roommate.
Has a pet? What pet? Cat. Okay, so I think we'll maybe next lesson we'll speak about trapping. We'll speak about how to handle traps, the pets on Shabbos. Those who have goldfish, those who have birds, those who have hamsters. Okay.
Sorry, Rabbi Baras. So if you open a bag of like chips, you can open it with a knife, as long as you don't go on the letters.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, our class is being taught to open up the bag before Shabbos.
Right.
Again, this is again,
Yes.
I'm always sharing what I was told to relate to the class. Don't tell them about all the leniencies. Tell them the right way to do it is open it before Shabbos. Then you won't have any issues.
Wait, there's one person. So if you open, thank you. You forgot and
Yeah,
you.
you're doing it in a disruptive way. You're not gonna
No,
use it
but
as a
you
storage.
open a whole can, so
Oh,
you
no, we're not speaking about the, a bag, so you're going to.
no, but I'm asking about a can.
A can, that's a separate story.
Okay. so
Cans,
not
cans are more strict, because you're actually making it, a vessel. So,
But if you like squish it,
originally what they would tell you to do is to make two holes, so you cannot use the can for storage of liquid, like a hole at the top, like a hole at the bottom, now it's no longer a usable can, so you destroyed it. But there are more leniencies than that, and I will share with that, because at one time people used cans as a pencil holders, no one knows that. Used to have the cans and put all their pens and, stationery holders, they used to use it for, cooking eggs, I don't know, whatever, people use the cans. Nowadays, it's discarded. If you discard it right away, then you're not using it, you're showing that you don't want a vessel. You open it up halfway, so there are things that could be done in a permissible way, but again, open it before Shabbos. Okay. So Esther is not here, and Laura? Esther, okay, so, here we are. Esther is here. And Laura, yes. Laura, Esther. So, let me see. Valeria is there. Okay, let's see. Alice, let's see. She is here. Yocheved is. Yeah, I just want to put the names together. And Laura is there. Okay. Esther, onto your Hebrew name.
yes.
Okay, welcome. I had a girl from South America. Her name was Felicia.
Felicia.
And her name was Chana, her Hebrew name. But her name was Felicia. Whenever I would take attendance, I would say, her name was Chana, but she always identified herself as Felicia. So we always would, Felicia. Then at one point she said, I'm Chana.
Oh, wow.
Which means she was able to, like this, she identified herself by her Spanish name,
Yeah.
and that's who she was. At one point, she became,
Amazing.
that was like a transition that I was very, very, I remember that, very, very well. So,